a sight that we all want to see. Gabriel Jesus, first time since November receiving instructions, ready to come on for the Arsenal. I don't think there's going to be a more popular face inside Craven Cottage than that man's in the number 9 shirt for Arsenal.
I remember on the Friday night watching part of the game and seeing that Gabby had come off. He certainly wasn't taken off, limping significantly or stretching off. And then on the Saturday, my phone went and I knew there was a problem straight away because it was the Brazilian doctor. He phoned me and said, "Listen, I'm very sorry to say, but I've got a set of scans here for Gabriel Jesus, who we reviewed this morning. Please, can you have a look and let us know what you think?" And unfortunately, as soon as we saw them, we knew that the worst case scenario was true. The huge difficulty you then have as a team doctor, as opposed to an international doctor, is a tournament as emotive as this. Brazil were still very much in the tournament, were playing very well, and the player was desperate to stay. Desperate for a short-term fix, for an injection, some magic cure to allow him to play in what could potentially be anyone's last World Cup. So we then had a very emotional 24 hours. The difficult conversations were to say, "I'm really sorry, your World Cup's over. I'm afraid this is going to need surgery, and that we'd like you to come back to London."
I think my life is not complete if I'm not allowed to be on the pitch.
What a glorious goal by Gabriel Jesus! Gabriel Jesus says thank you very much! All came about that from Gabriel Jesus. Fantastic play from the Arsenal number 9.
To be honest, I don't know what's happened because I didn't feel nothing. I just heard something, but nothing changed. I keep playing without pain, nothing, discomfort, nothing. And I get subbed off, nothing. And then on the bench, I was feeling something. And then after it becomes so big and I cannot bend my knee. And I was so scared, you know. So, where was I when it happened? I was on the pitch. We both started the game, and I was on the pitch with him. At the halftime, he said that he was feeling something in his knee, but I didn't think it was that bad. As soon as my knee came big, I was thinking about the World Cup, of course. And then I said to myself, okay, he'll be out for 2 or 3 training sessions, and I come back for the quarterfinals or semifinals, I don't know. And then when we did the scan, they say, all right, I'm out. I think it was the day after the game or 2 days after the game. He went to do the scan, and he was in the canteen. We were about to have lunch, and he said to me that was something in his meniscus and was something that he needed to do a surgery. You think about everything. To miss the World Cup, to miss the rest of the season. 4 years working, you know, as well, to come here and it happens. I have played 2 World Cups for Brazil. You know, it's an amazing feeling. It's amazing competition for me, my opinion, the best in football. And then happens this, you know, and then we keep asking why, but he'll never know why.
My first phone call on the Saturday after speaking to Gabby, the first phone call after that was to our knee surgeon. So we then arranged that if Gabby could get back on the Sunday, we would see him on Monday, and if all the stars aligned, then we could operate on the Tuesday. One thing that was a big help to us was our surgical team and our physio department and ourselves had all worked with Gabby Martinelli and David Luiz, who had both had significant knee injuries, and both been operated on and rehabilitated by the same surgeon and the same team. That was a huge reassurance to Gabby.
When you have this type of injuries, you get sad, you know, when you could see in his face he was sad, but at the same time you could see that the energy that he has and the hunger that he has to win, and he was telling everyone that he was coming back stronger, and this is what he's trying to do. I was sad. I cry a lot in the day, but as soon as the day to come, I start to laugh and smile because it was in the past, you know. I was like, okay, job done. Now it's thinking about the surgery and then thinking about to come back fit and to come back stronger than I was before. I don't want to cry every day.
Gabby suffered 2 injuries, and both of them are relatively common. But the main injury that he had suffered was the fact that he had torn what's called a medial collateral ligament. And this is a ligament that prevents the knee from bending outwards like that. And the great irony was that Gabby doesn't really remember how it happened. We think he played on for 15 minutes. It's typical of the man.
I always been good with the pen, you know. Always I play football since I was 11, 12 years old. I play with pen. So for me, pen, nothing changed. I don't get so many injuries. So when I get a tackle, I'm no problem. You know, I stand up and keep playing.
This is his knee scan. This is his top bone, which is called the femur. This is the tibia, the big bone and the lower bone. White is blood. And then this is the meniscus, and here and there, that white line through the tear is the tear of the medial meniscus. What normally happens when you examine a player and they have sustained an injury is their body stiffens up because it's very painful. When you put them to sleep, you can straight away see the extent of an injury because they don't protect themselves. And then actually when we opened him up, the thing was just floating like leaves in the wind, you know. We have unfortunately dealt with similar injuries before. What makes Gabby stand out and makes him remarkable is that first 24, 48 hours was incredibly emotional. There were lots of tears and difficult phone calls, but it's almost like at 72 hours, he switched completely to when am I going to be available.
Perfect. And great finish action at the top as well, because you're squeezing through at the top. For 4 weeks, Gabby's been initially 2 weeks non-weight bearing, 2 weeks partial weight bearing. So now he's just weaning off the crutches, weaning out the brace. So, you know, the important part of this phase is really just establishing normal movement patterns. You know, and as I described it to Gabby, it's more about building the foundations for us to then build on more athletic movements on top of that. You know, get good hip flexion, good knee flexion, good ankle flexion, you know, all the sort of fundamental movements that are integral to him if we're going to progress him through the phases of building into running, building them back onto the pitch and obviously back into, you know, the training and match play. He's lost a lot of muscle mass and he's just been restricted in his everyday life because he's had the brace on to sleep, been quite restricted in what we've been able to do. So it's now just drip feeding all these new normal movements back into the rehabilitation. Nice one. Let me run over there. Well done, Gabs. We go, yeah. Yeah, he's still only sort of 4 weeks post-operation, so whilst we can't work the legs as much now, we still then do some upper body cardiovascular work. So it's really the case of, okay, right, well, let's just still build on some fitness elements. So when we can start working you, and working your legs from a sort of cardiovascular side of things, it's not a shock to the system that there's still some level of baseline fitness there that he's got. And I say that it's all about building relationships and that trust and communication with him. And I think, like at the moment we're working 7 days a week, 5-6 hours a day, but then even when he's away from here, I speak to him of an evening to make sure that how he's doing, has he had any reaction, has he followed some of the advice I've given him to work on of an evening as well. So yeah, it's pretty much a good 18-20 hours a day where you're just in regular communication with him about it. You feel that? Yeah, we all want him back. We know how important he is to the team, but you want a Gabby that's going to be back, fully fit.
Now I'm watching Arsenal games, the boys out there, and I get so nervous because, I want to be there as well.
Nudged in by Eddie Nketiah!
When you can turn around and say, I am running, it's another huge step in the progression back to return to play.
I'm learning to come back stronger, more powerful. It's not easy to be out.